All right, welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service. Coming up is newspaper review.
Yeah, you're welcome once again to the newspaper review segment. And why are you laughing, Claire? Anyway, our newspaper reviewer is here. Chooks, the boy.
I won't be, distracted by the continuous chuckle coming from her. Let me, respond to Demo. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, my brother.
Claire. Laughing Claire, good morning.
Good morning, dear Chukwudi. Good
How
to
are
see
you?
That could be better. Thank you.
Hope you're okay.
Sure. Let's quickly begin with the New Telegraph, and it leads with End Bad Governance. DSS arrests suspected sponsors, identifies funders. Quite a number of riders there. And the lead story here is the Minister of Science and Technology Innovation, Chief Uche Naji, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos, and Vice President Kashim Shettima during an international cotton advisory committee meeting at the presidential villa in Abuja. That was yesterday. Now, Igbophobia, Southeast National Assembly caucus petitions IGP, demands instigators of anti-Igbo actions arrest. Senate crisis, APC summons Ndume, says he's free to join another party if he wishes. That story is on page 2. And there are other stories, of course, trending. Just to quickly look at the trending stories. This says Obasanjo, fuel importers will sabotage Dangote refinery, condemns subsidy removal. That story is on page 4. And Bono to restrict influx of unaccompanied children to Maiduguri. And on the foreign scene, Kamala Harris picks Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as running mate. That story is on page 4. And just atop the nameplate, Nigeria reclaims $3.4 billion cargo shipment from neighboring countries. And quickly, I flip over to the blueprint. And the blueprint is laden with tax, import, duty-free food items to be cleared next week. That's according to federal government. And I'd like to repeat that again. Tax, import, duty-free food items to be cleared next week. Assures policy will crash food prices and moves to revamp cotton textile industry, targets 1.4 million jobs. Again, we see the same picture story of the International Cotton Advisory Committee meeting at the presidential villa yesterday, and the picture story is, of course, there. And protests. We've placed diaspora sponsors on watch list. NIS sets up land, air, marine surveillance. Musa Egbetokun all devour to go after only enemies of state. And hold your governors responsible for hardship. Son tells Nigerians. Let me just apply the break here for Demola too.
All right, I have the Daily Sun newspaper with me, and the major headline reads, Federal government identifies protest sponsors abroad. Military fumes over regime change call. Sponsors placed on watch list. Bank account frozen. Army, Navy, Air Force vow to deal with subversive elements. Details of that story can be found on page 6. We have tension in Benue. PDP heightens as ex-governor Autumn. State chairman battle suspension saga. Details on page 6. Food prices to crash as customs waives duty on imports. The details of that story can be found on page 25. Infrastructure development. Mai commends Southeast governors for collaboration with federal government. Details on page 27. Finance Minister explains federal government strategy for economic growth, welfare. The details can be found on page 25. And the black strips there reads, "Fear grips Rivers residents as protesters threaten mayhem on transporters and traders." You can find the details on page 4. Chooks.
Yeah, Demola, first of all, thanks to Providence that it's all, ebbing, the protest that's talking about. The most important thing for me today now is talking about the day after, in the sense that the trend the protest took, particularly in the north, should still be worrisome to every one of us here. Every one of us in Nigeria, every one of us who claims to love this country. The flying of a foreign flag should not be taken, lightly. Yesterday, I almost got emotional. I slipped a bit by my own standards. I nearly poured out emotions yesterday. That was how much I felt bad about what happened in the north. It's not just the killing of our compatriots there, their deaths. I still say that the Nigerian police force need to do more work in terms of restricting themselves. The riots in Britain, they really got violent. Nobody has been reported killed yet. We have to learn from those we set out to learn from, okay? But having said that, the security of this country should be uppermost in the minds of anybody who claims to love Nigeria. I like what NIS has said. A watch list is out there for the people suspected to have sponsored this. Whenever they come into this country, they're going to be arrested. Then the DSS reassurance that, arrests have already been have taken place. Then there's a firm word on the people we call children waving the flags. Somebody in the security services is saying we don't treat them as innocent children because that thing is heinous as a crime, a big offense against the country. So I pray that it all, goes well for us in terms of ferreting out who were responsible for the trend it was taking over there. Yeah. Government will seem to say now, didn't we tell you that the thing would go haywire? You thought it was politics coming from our side. So introspectively, we need to be careful about these protests. It's our fundamental right to protest.
It is.
Very important. And I'm happy all the parties to the dispute acknowledge that. But if we don't know how to go about handling protests, maybe we should not rush into protests. I think people tell you the police have a right to curtail whatever, all those are arguments.
I think the major challenge at this this protest is because they cannot put a face to the leadership of the people leading the protest. So that was really a major challenge for the government, because the government was trying to engage the public, the traditional rulers, but they're always calling for the leaders to come forth. Come, let's dialogue. But
you mean they didn't come forward? No, because their faces on TV were quite visible.
Not the leaders.
I just like us to quickly.
But they we discussed it yesterday, and some of the people we spoke to from the north said most of these things are politically motivated.
Just to also add, before we look at other stories, the fact that I'm sure we all saw the video clips, social media, of the alleged tailor who, was producing the flags. This paper is reporting that he's been arrested, according to the police, that he's been arrested.
Follow the tailor. You'll know who his instructors were.
Yes,
of course.
And
they'll be able to trace.
Unfortunately, so. But I think we should just move on to other stories. And some of the issues, that give rise to the protest, of course, is the hardship, the hunger, according to people. But there were also policies that the federal government put in place. And one of those policies is suspension of import duty and tax. Yes. And people were asking what has been the impact of this policy that government has put in place. And, it's heartwarming to know that the blueprint is telling us now that the federal government says that the food items attached to this policy
Tax,
will be cleared.
import duty-free food items to be cleared next week. That's a good one, Claire.
Yes. So
solid message.
It's a good message. I think it's
this
something
one reads
that
food prices to crash.
Precisely.
As
So
customs waves duty
the
on
coming
imports.
down of the prices of food items that provoked, one of the things that provoked
Of
the
course,
protest,
yes.
we hope it will eventually be addressed, and then we'll see impact of those policies that the federal government had been saying, come to fruition, come to materialize, and we'll have a tangible feel of it. So that's one of the stories I thought.
But Claire,
very important, Claire. That's a very good one.
But you see, my fear is this, that, in Nigeria, when things go up, most times it's very difficult for it to come down. There must be...
The price of tomato is now 6,000 naira.
No, but then we will know.
So there must be monitoring.
Then we will know.
It must come down.
Yeah, so that government efforts can be felt.
Then we will know who to hold responsible. Because most times, we attribute every negative thing to the government. Whereas,
Claire, do you know, I'm beginning to think that it is in the interest of the Nigerian president, I'm not talking about the current, a Nigerian president, to see that it becomes clear that some duties are not traceable to him. The governors and the local government chairman, we have to protest against them when we need to as well. Free up Abuja a bit. We have a highly misinformed populace. I'm sorry, I'm not denigrating anyone. But we must also acknowledge the fact that the local government autonomy, financial autonomy being granted, is actually one of the steps being taken, just like what Okonjo-Iweala did about publishing accounts to tell people what was going to their different layers of government. That local government autonomy is one way of saying your chairman can be held responsible for your underdevelopment. Let us move that way. Let's expose that more and more. Because I think Abuja is taking too many flats. It's not right. We have to be properly informed.
You just talked about
you
just talked about local government autonomy, and it reminded me of the story that made the rounds in the week about some local chairmen of local government areas in a particular state
who are begging for more slavery and bondage.
No. They said they don't want.
Yes.
So they are aligning with the state government.
They are aligning with
that's why I said they are begging for continued bondage, slavery.
And I'm just wondering,
what sort of country is this?
Anyway, let's quickly round up with the Olympics. And it's been a very sad outing for Nigeria. It's been a depressing outing for Nigeria. But I must commend Philip. I must commend Favor Ofili. She gave in her best yesterday. She was sixth, at the finals of the 200 meters women. She competed against the best of the best. But, her best didn't take, although I think it was a season best. And again, 3 Nigerian women would also go for the long jump finals, Brumel, Usoro, and Ochonogo. So we are keeping our fingers crossed. I think there's also another Nigerian duo, this time in a very, very unpopular sporting activity, canoeing.
All right, okay.
You don't want to say
the green, white, green will keep on resonating in my mind, I believe, in this country. But when we are ready to improve in sports, I'll let you know. What I can tell you now is that Tim Walz, Minnesota governor, picked as Harris as the VP, running mate of Kamala Harris, looks like Arsenal's second goalkeeper, Ramsdale's father, officially. That's the sports I'm going to talk.
Okay.
When we are ready for sports in this country,
it's okay.
I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you very much, Toots. We have to round off on your segment now. So we'll take a break now. Good Morning Nigeria continues. Stay with us.